Everyone, we will move on with some new stuff, okay? Very quickly, I want to answer any questions about the lab you just did. Do you have any question there? If this looks a little small, create a big array. I'm just gonna, whoops. Okay, let's put it over here. Okay, here is the big numbers. I did not teach the, where is it? The sorting yet, so I very quickly just want to explain that. If I define this all numbers to have a list of numbers in big numbers and the original numbers variables, this is what I do, line 58. That all makes sense, right? And notice when I print numbers, I get this 1 to 10 and 100 to 400. Okay? So there is a question here that this task says sort the array so you get the largest number first. And we learned something called reversing the order of an array, right? So I can do all numbers, right? Largest first, and I can print that all numbers dot reverse. Reverse is a method on an array, and I flip around the order in the array. Now some of you may notice that what if my big numbers is like not in this order? It's maybe, I have a 50 here. Okay, then when I run reverse, my list is not sorted. So some of you decide before you reverse, you want to sort. If I sort, I get the order very nicely done from small to large, and now I am sure that the largest one is at the end, the smallest one is in front, then I reverse. It's quite common if you want to sort from largest to smallest, you do sort and then you do dot reverse. That's the common way. Okay? So let's move on. There's one thing that I did not teach is how to use if and end, but all of you figure it out. Here, if you do each in an array, you can do if and like this. That seems just like English, right? So we will move on with a little more interesting syntax. It's called methods. So far, you calling methods on arrays. You call methods mostly on arrays, but let's see, what if you can define your own methods? If you have an array, if I have a as 1, 2, 3, 4 here, a.length is a method that returns the number of elements in an array. A.first, a.last. Anything else you can remember? A.sort. Okay? A.reverse.
Push.
Oh, that's right. A.push. And A.pop and A.remove. And when you're comfortable, you can start Googling Ruby array methods. These are the methods on the left. Not all of them make sense to you. Don't worry about them. You read the ones that kind of make sense, like, oh, this is an array of number 1, a string 2, and a float 3.0. That's a mixed array. Sounds like we talked about before. This is how you get the index in an array, called accessing the elements. You can start looking at these pages. You can understand maybe 10%, 50% of them. Compared to before, you may feel, hey, at least I feel okay now. Okay, so now let's learn something called method. And I'm going to create a new repo here. A method is this. We have learned that there's an each do, and that is one block, right? This is some array like 1, 2, 3, 4. We've learned that there's something in here that you have to write. We've learned another block that say if maybe its element is greater than 5, then you do something in here. That's another block. Now we're going to learn, this is called a method. The method is called say hi. So I'm not going to do anything too complicated. I just say I have a method called say hi. And this, well, let's say element is 5. Okay. So I have this method say hi. I can use it. If I call say hi, I'll see hi. Okay? So now we're going to practice a little bit more. We'll do something more complicated. Maybe, make poem, right? I'm going to make a poem that just write a few lines of text. So, roses are red, violets are blue, maybe
sugar is sweet,
Ruby is cool, and so are you. And notice, if I don't run this method, I don't call it, this method is not run. So if I call it make poem, then make poem get run and you see the puts. Seems straightforward enough. We've learned that if we use the def word here, it's a keyword, and you can have here is the method name. Okay? What if I want to say hi to a person? Then you say name is a variable in here. And then you say, well, say maybe I shouldn't call it the same method name. So I say hello. So I say hello. It's a string. Name is a string, so I say plus name. Then I can do hello Chris. And then you see hello plus Chris. Okay? So if I ask you to write a method that say I don't know, what should I ask? If you say the method that print your name 5 times, can you do that? So you can say print something n times. Let's say print hello 5 times. So this is n. Then you can just say hello multiply by n. Now I say print hello 5 times. You say hello, 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 hello. We're getting more comfortable with method. Who here can guess why I have parentheses here and I don't have any parentheses up here? Stan, you want to?
Establishing a value
Yeah, so Luis, if I do this, do you think it works? Yeah? It will work the same. This means you give the method no variables, right? It's called arguments, but there's no argument to this method. So when you see this empty thing and Ruby is like, no, it's okay, you don't have to do it. Okay? Now Ian, can you guess if I take away the parenthesis here? Do you see the parenthesis? Parenthesis means this bracket, okay? If I take away the bracket, do you think it works? Good guess. But Ruby say, oh, it looks like you want to do this. So Ruby can guess that you want to do that. So it actually works.
So you don't need it.
You don't need it. It works all the same. However, let's make life easier for everyone. Never write code like this. When you write a method, if you have an argument, then you use parentheses. If you don't, then you can just have the method name just like this. Any question about that? So it's really exciting because you can define a method and now you can see, I can say hello to anyone. I can repeat the logic, right? And you see the code is able to produce similar result. Or what if, I want to print something else 5 times? And I want to print this line. Print, instead of saying print hello, print separator. Print separator. And I call this print separator 10 times. You see, you can do this for at the end of each of your questions, right? You say, task 3, and then you say print separator again, and put task 4, and you run them. You see that they nicely show up on the right hand side. Okay? So with methods, we're going to be able to do the B2 milestone. For example, you can define a full name method. If a full name, you have first name, middle name, and last name. Then you can return the full name. So this is something that it's a bit unique to Ruby. The last statement, the last line in the method is what the method returns. Okay, so if I have a method now, I call myself first name and last name. Okay, so right now this is empty. If I just say full name and I run this, if I have this method called full name and I say Adam and Smith. I take a look at this method. Full name is the name of the method. Adam is the first name. Smith is the last name. If I press enter, what do you think you will see? Are you sure? Adam Smith is what it should do, but look at what I did at line 45. It just returned this string, full name. I don't know what to do yet, so I just put something in here. So it means if I run it, let's do that full. Let me run that line over here. Okay, it's just full name. It means the last line in this method, whatever is in here, when I run the method, it returns that value. So let's give it a try, Ian. If you know full name, if you know first name is Adam, last name is Smith, how do you get the real full name?
Adam Smith into
Adam plus Smith, like this? Almost. How do I make it better?
Adam space both parentheses.
So maybe you get plus space here and then plus like that. Looks good, right? So if I have, let's go outside the method. Full name is Adam. First name is Adam. Last name is Smith. Then you can do the same thing, right? First name plus space plus last name. Then you get that. Now I can copy this and put in here. Let's try it. Full name is, whoops, I don't have full name. I have first name space plus last name. Okay? So now if I call this full name like what I wrote just now, I have that, or let's Sam Smith. Hey, it works. Okay, so the last line. So you can even say, oh, adding full name and no, first name and last name together. You can print this to screen, and Ruby will run it happily, but this is the thing that get printed that get returned in this full name. Okay, so I'm trying again. I haven't run it, so I'm gonna run it. Adding first and last name together, and then you get Sam Smith. But this is in green color, so it's not printed. This is just what Ruby ran, up here. So normally it's okay if you just say put full name is this. Then you see Sam Smith is printed. Okay? So that's why in the exercise you see that I asked you to define a full name method, but now with first name, middle name, and last name. And then you can, because it returns a string, you can call puts on it to get the string out, okay, to the screen. Let's do a simpler method. Can someone help me define a method that adds two numbers together? Stan, let's try. Def add variable, just call them first and second. Okay, so def and end. Okay, the last line in that method will just return the value to the method. So how do you add them together? What's the value?
Put 1 plus 2.
1 plus 2?
Or 2 first
First plus second. And then so now you can say put maybe add 10 plus 20. If I run on the right hand side, what will you get, Louis? Exactly what we think it does, right? Let's define the function square. It takes just one number. Sine? Square. I will define a method square. Square means you take a number and multiply by itself. Okay, so if I do, square, and let's call the number n. So what do we write in here? Sorry, can you speak louder? We have one variable here called n. I want to return the square of n. N times n. So if I do square of 9, what do we get? 81, right? Okay, so Ian, I want to define a function called half of a number. So let's call it number. You can call it anything. So what do you write inside here? Number divided by half, by 2. So then now let's take the half of 98. What is half of 98? 49. Just remember that the last line in that method, okay, so it's like you have this thing called return there, but it's not needed. You can write the word return in all these places, but it's not needed. So in Ruby, you tend to just see a method and the last line like this, okay? You can always have something else up here. You can print, you can define something, okay? So get familiar with one argument, like n here, 2 arguments, first, second. In your exercise, you have to deal with 3 arguments, okay? All right, let's try. Unfortunately, the third exercise will be a little difficult. So let's give it a try with 1 and 2 first, and then we'll take a break.